Joy Cometh broadcast. It's a journey process. I put emphasis on this because definitely it is a journey process. It's not an overnight thing. But I am excited about today's broadcast because I believe what I'm going to share with you on today, you can totally relate to it. And I know it will help you. So I'm excited about today's broadcast. Today's broadcast, we want to share on the subject matter of grief as it relates to one's mental health. Are you hearing me? Grief as it relates to one's mental health. So can grief affect one's mental health? So let's begin by looking into what our mental health consists of. Mental health encompasses one's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Let's say that again. Mental health encompasses one's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So it affects how we think, psychological part. It affects how we feel, the emotional part. And it affects how we act, right? That's the social component. And it influences how we handle stress and how we relate to others. Are you getting what I'm saying? And last of all, how we even make choices. So let's break this down a little bit more because I'm going somewhere on today. We're dealing with grief as it relates to one's mental health. So let's deal with emotional well-being. This includes the ability to manage and express emotions in healthy ways. See that emotional well-being, when you're at that place, you're able to manage and express your emotions in healthy ways. When we deal with the psychological well-being, it refers to a sense of self-esteem. You feel good about yourself, purpose. You have a sense of meaning in life and your personal growth. And then last of all, when you deal with the social well-being component, this involves the ability to build and maintain positive relationships. In other words, you're able to maintain relationships in a positive manner and engage in social interaction. Now watch this. Listen to me. Grief can affect all of these in a negative way. It can affect your emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Let's get a little bit deeper into this because I want you to understand we want to deal with grief as it relates to one's mental health. We have a mental health crisis going on in our world today. And grief is a part of it. It's contributing to it. So let's deal with the emotional part. People can struggle with how to express or manage their emotions in a positive way. Why? When they're grieving. Why? Because they have so many negative emotions that they are dealing with all at one time while they're grieving. Remember I talked about all the different phases of grief on the last broadcast. You know, you're dealing with anger, resentment, bitterness, just to name a few, depression, feelings of abandonment, jealousy, rage. And you're trying to process these different negative emotions at times while you're going through the grieving process. Let's deal with the psychological component. People can also struggle with their self-esteem while they're going through this grieving process and their personal growth during the time. Because why? Because they can get stuck in thoughts that will hinder them from moving forward. Some can't even see themselves going on with life at that time. You can even struggle with thoughts of, why did this happen to me? You know, I would get that, why me? Why did this happen to me? Seem like everybody else is doing fine. Why me? And it can lean to you not feeling good about yourself. You see where I'm going with this? We're dealing with grief as it relates to one's mental health. And then the last component is that social part. People can struggle with interacting with others during the grieving process. Some can become so withdrawn during that time. They will even isolate themselves. I've dealt with cases where people just stay in their house, they isolate themselves. You can even struggle with thoughts and wanting to shut down themselves from others. They don't want to be around other people. Even when they're around other people, let's just flip it. They don't even have much to say. You try to strike up a conversation and their words are one word response. Sometimes they'll sit in the company and people are just talking and sharing and interacting, and they're just sitting there by themselves. Are you getting the picture? So here's what I want to say. This is what I want to get to. So if grief is not properly addressed, it can affect one's mental health. Let's say it again. If grief is not properly addressed, it can affect one's mental health. This is why you may hear people say, he's not the same since he lost his mom. You can see he's not the same since he lost his mom. Or she's not the same since her divorce. You can literally see it. I know of a case where a person has just literally shut themselves down. They're not the same. So yes, grief can affect one's mental health. So, you see, grief is the emotional response. You remember I shared that to you in earlier I shared this with you in an earlier broadcast. Grief is the emotional response to a loss. So hear me good. This is why you can't avoid it or suppress it, because it can affect you in negative ways. So you can't do this for your mental health's sake. You must go through the process. And I want you to understand that it's natural and it's normal. So, this is why you must give yourself permission. Breathe. For your mental health sake. It will affect your mental well-being if you don't. It can affect affect your psychological well-being and your social well-being. So for your mental health's sake, you must go through the process. And remember, it's natural and it's normal and nothing strange about it. So I like to say, let's take this journey together as we go from grief to gratitude. Now, in the next broadcast, I'm going to talk to you about the steps that we must take in going through our grieving process. That's right, it is a process. And in my closing today, I want to offer this book again. About 5 years ago, I had a major loss in my life. And I experienced grief at a whole nother level. This is what stirred my heart to become educated on this subject matter, because I knew at the time, was during the pandemic, that many others will be dealing with the same thing. So the first thing I did, I wrote a book on my personal story, how I went from grief to gratitude. And it's called The Unexpected Journey. Trusting God through the grieving process. There's so many people that have been touched, that have been blessed, because I write this book in a manner that it takes you through your own journey process. I like to say it like this: let's take this journey together. There's some information that's going to be on the screen at the end of this broadcast. You can visit me through, of course, the email or a number or whatever, and you can put in your own order or order more than one so you can purchase it for someone else. The book is only $15. I guarantee you it's life-changing. I've had so many testimonies. I don't have time to share all of the testimonies, how people have been blessed through this book. So remember, Joy Cometh is a journey process. So I'm looking forward to going into the next broadcast, and sharing with you the steps that you need to take in going through your grieving process. Be blessed.